He must love something about the camera because he normally doesn't let me pick him up. And down he goes. He's done. He's done. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Stock, and that was Benjamin and the voice of my fiance, the future Mrs. Dr. Stock, coming up next month. Actually, just a little bit under a month and a week away from now. So that should be a really good time. And sorry, the cat. He's not leaving me alone here. There we go. All right. Back to the stock stuff. Anyway, so name's Dr. Stock. Happy to be here today. Great to see all of you. Hope you had a good day. Markets, still pretty crazy. This video, totally for entertainment purposes only. We're going to move along from here. I want to talk about some updates. Palantir, which I've talked about before. It's stuff that's not entirely new today, and so it may have been stuff, if you're interested, that you already read about, but it was the first I saw it, so I was like, all right, cool, I'll include just a little snippet on that. But BNGO had their earnings come out, Sensionics had their earnings come out, and then also we had some pretty cool news from Fisker, and I've not talked about Fisker before. It's a company that I don't have any position in, but it's one that I like what they have to say, and honestly, it inspires me. I might just go ahead and read more about them, and if they can really make good on their promises, like they put out today, then it might be a company that I might put a position in. They are in the EV space, just in case you're not familiar with them. We'll get to those soon. For right now, let's get ready to rock. All right, welcome back. For those of you who are interested, down in the description is a link to my Patreon. If you go over there, you'll see my dividend portfolio and also my growth portfolio. Also, I put out a weekly newsletter and a weekly watch list of stocks. And then there's also a private Discord where the Patreon members can go and talk throughout the trading week. I'm in there throughout the day, on and off as my work goes on, and I'm looking at different things and also talking about different stock stuff with the Discord and Patreon members. So if you want to check that out, that link is down in the description. Hope to see you over there. Also down in the description, you'll find a link to WEBULL. That's another way that you can support this channel by going over there, signing up, depositing $100. You'll get yourself 2 free stocks for that trading account for yourself. For the referral, I get 2 free stocks, and that's where the support comes in. So thank you guys. If you choose that route, I greatly appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck. Those 2 stocks are worth a total of up to $1,850. So if the random number generator is on your side, you could have either way, whether it's big or it's small, it's free money, so why not, right? Moving on from there, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do so. Hit the notification bell, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Let's get on to the stocks. All right, so Palantir is the first stock that I would like to share with you, and this wasn't really intended to even be part of the video. I just saw the headline and I was like, hey, I'll check that out. I knew that ARK was buying pretty heavily into Palantir, that they were in it before the market dropped, and that they were buying up through there, and as the market dropped, they just bought right along with it and bought even stronger as that sell-off continued, and they really did have a pretty awesome quarter going for themselves. And then Mr. Wonderful also coming in and also picking out, I think they said a second-round pick or so is what it was for PLTR, saying that data is really going to rule with AI and Internet of Things, and so he really sees big things for PLTR, for Palantir coming up. The one concern, the government agencies be working with Palantir, being clients of Palantir, was a good thing, because government agencies tend to be sticky, that once they go with a company, then as long as nothing's going wrong, they tend to keep going with that company. Moving on to the commercial side of things, and one of the biggest roadblocks going for PLTR, leading at first anyway, was that the upfront cost of using their service was so expensive, and I think that they switched over to a model where it's more of a subscription-based model, so it lowers that barrier for entry for smaller companies to use Palantir's service. And I think that they're really going to continue to innovate and really build up those revenue streams and keep on turning it into cash and really work on that bottom line numbers and really fill that out over time. So this is just a little bit that I wanted to share about Palantir. Let me just show you their chart so you can see what's going on in case it's one that you haven't looked at. They were up at $45 per share at one point in time, and you can see that just awesome ride that they had up. And when it exploded like that, I sold off a lot of my shares, but as we came back down about mid-20s or so, I started buying back in. It was a company that I wanted for a long-term hold in the first place, and if you go back and watch my videos, wherever I mentioned Palantir, you'll see that I mentioned it as a long-term hold, but for these really rip-up excitement type periods, those are ones where I will tend to take some profits while it's up so high, and then when it comes back down is when I'll buy back in at a lower entry, trying to get a better deal on it. And you can see the sell-off, which really I thought that we'd see the worst of it right here around low 20s, and the market just is really pushing down these prices, and people are saying, hey, the valuation is still too high, the growth doesn't match up. That's for you guys to decide. Whatever you think on this, Palantir I think is one that over the years is really going to continue to impress us, and I think that they're going to be very innovative in their space, and I think it's really going to help out their margins over time as they refine their business model going forward. And today, closing at $18.37, under $20, I think that for Palantir is going to be a real deal. I do want to move on because this isn't one. Actually, let me just do analyst estimates quick. We're close to that low 12-month price target of $17, but we're well below the other ones. So we have, at least a 50% upside to this high estimate, and it would be nice to watch these adjust over time. I think with the current macroeconomic conditions that we have and the inflation fears, I think that we're going to have some rocky territory ahead of us, and those high multiples won't be seen a little bit until the fear really starts to pass. All right, now I really do want to move on from Palantir because there's other stocks that I would like to share with you. All right, Bionano reported today in the after hours of the stock market, and you can see that they had a Q1 revenue beat, and down here they talk about some of the year-over-year numbers, which is just going to be crazy because so much changed for that company from Q1 2020 to Q1 2021. And look, you can check it out, almost 200% year-over-year rise in revenue, which reached 3.2 million, and for a company that's very small, those high percentages are going to be easier, and I think that Bionano, especially if they continue their R&D and they get into some of the diagnosis and treatment sides, that they're really going to take stride. And they also talk about their single nucleotide variants. I'm not a medical doctor by any means, so if they can capitalize on that right now, they don't do anything with single nucleotide, but that's something that R&D would have to do. And if they can get there, their stock is said to become. Their Sapphire system, it is said that it would be revolutionary if they got down to that level for looking for variations at that single nucleotide level. So right now they're saying it's sort of a supplementary thing and that there is a lot of potential, and the analysts on this one really do say, hey, we do have some upside. They didn't really believe in the valuations that we were seeing and the high multiples that we saw earlier this year. But with the price drop that we have, I think we're getting into more reasonable territory with BNGO, at least something a little bit more on a sustainable pace for their stock price growth over time. And you can see some of these other numbers that they had. So right here we have the gross margin improvement to 33% from 25%. It's always good to see gross margin improve. And then R&D remaining flat. I'm really okay if they continue to spend on research and development and really things to help drive their business and progress and grow their business. Those are things that we want to look for. So an R&D expense is something that while you want to keep it under control, an expense like this should be okay. And with the cash that they have from the capital raises that they were able to do, they have some runtime on this company, so they won't go under anytime soon. And also they're really showing the useful side of their technology, a lot of that coming through what we saw with COVID, and then also talking about different cancers and other things that wouldn't necessarily be all that detectable by other means. Right here's what I was talking about by their cash and cash equivalents, about 362 million, and recording over 800% growth from year 2020. So they went from being very cash poor in 2020 to having just a really huge spike in their stock price and being able to do some capital raises and really doing things that will help sustain their business and also sustain their development for years to come just off of that. Even if they don't do another capital raise anytime soon, they at least have some run time before that cash would happen to run out, should that ever be the case. I don't think that's the case. I think that they're growing, and right here is a little bit more evidence of that. So in this one it says about the milestones for 2021. They included a target to reach 150 of the Sapphire system to achieve 50% year-over-year increase by year end. So that means they have about 100 out now, 50% increase on that, so half more than what they do right now. So 100 up to 150, at least that's what I read from that. So you can always check that out, and you can see the success that their stock prices has so far, saying that it 10x'd over the past 12-month period. And if we take a look at the chart today, here's the daily chart for BNGO for Bionanogenomics, and you can just see from over $15.50, so $15.69, dropping all the way back down to about the $4 level. This goes along with all of the other sell-offs that we have. So while this was quite rich for the time, now we're starting to get in those more reasonable prices, so we're reducing the risk that we'd be putting into these companies. Originally, I bought in, I think that my original price was somewhere around $2 or $3 a share. I'd really have to go back and look at this point. I did sell off when this spike happened. I sold off, I think, half of what I had at first and then a quarter more, and then I eventually ended up selling the rest of it. And then when I entered back again, I bought some shares back right around $12 after we started settling back down here. And that's around the time, if you look at the date, February 22nd or so, that's around the time that we started seeing the rest of that sell-off, and well, it just kept happening after that, and we're in for, like I said, rocky territory up ahead. So just real quick with the analyst estimates, you can see that right now it's trading well below all the analyst estimates that are out here. There's only 3 of them, so I guess that's not too many, but $12.75 up to $15. So from its current price, this could easily go up about 2.5 times where it's currently at, just to hit that 12-month price target that we would have there of $12.75. Will it be trading at such a high multiple at that point? I don't know, but I think that we do have a decent upside here as the market pressures start to rise after some of that inflation fear starts to go away. That if we see that it is indeed transient like they expect inflation to be, then the inflation fears pass, the market recovers, and growth stocks like this one should also start to recover and not have such depressed prices like they do now. All right, Sensionics. So this one, they do a subcutaneous implant for continuous glucose monitoring. There it is, implantable. They actually talk about it right here. So they tell you a little bit about it, and they reported their results. And you can see that it's a pretty small company. Its revenue not even hitting the $3 million mark. So this is early on right here, this FDA resumption for approving the 150-day supplement application that they have. So ever since, they take this little thing and they cut a little slit in the back of somebody's arm, I believe, and then they implant a little sensor in there, and then they just put the monitor right over top of that, and it's under the skin. And I think right now they're at the 90-day implantable, and what they're working on is the 180-day approval. So they're actually going to present on that. I think that they mention it here at the ATTD and ADA conferences in June. So this is something to mark on your calendar, and what I did was I looked up more specific dates. So the ATTD conference, they actually have it, here, let me zoom in for you. The 2nd of June through the 5th of June, so that's only a couple of weeks away for us. And so if we get really good news concerning the study that they have for that 180-day implantable, I think that's going to be huge. So when I think about the CGMs, I think about how invasive they are. So like Dexcom, people who I know that are diabetic, they have the pump, they love having it versus having to do their own injections and also having to track their own glucose levels every day. And so that part of it doesn't really seem all that invasive. If I think about somebody like my niece who lives a little bit more of an active lifestyle and she's in sports, it's been ripped out sometimes. There is a little tube that she wears that sticks out, and sometimes even if she does have it taped back, sometimes it still gets caught on things and gets ripped out, and then they have to redo a site somewhere else. So not too invasive, and every once in a while there's problems with it, and if you don't change the site often enough with something like the Dexcom one, you can get improper readings, and then you don't get also the right control with your blood sugar with the insulin. And I'm not diabetic, and I also am not an expert when it comes to dealing with diabetes. So if you have experience with these things, you can let me know in the comments what you think. That would be the perfect place to provide me some more education, just in case I'm getting any of this wrong. My point in bringing all this up is with the implantable, the fact that they would put in a few different shots of Novocaine, then they would make a small incision, and I don't believe that there's any scarring that goes along with it. But again, you'd have to read up a little bit more about that. They put in the implantable, doing that every 3 months. I don't know that people want to go through that. Going through that every 6 months, it starts to get a little bit more reasonable. Getting to the point where it would be like one time a year, so every 12 months, I think you might actually really start to be able to sell a lot more people on that idea. So for Sensionics, I like the development that they have going, and I believe that it's also in their plans. It's been a while since I looked at their investor presentation, but I believe they also have plans to try and get to that 365 implantable for the FSR. So that way it'd be one time a year, you have it in, and I think that there's still finger sticks at this point in time that you have to still do a calibration with the sensor and everything. So I think that they're on to a good idea. I think there's room for development, but we can also see when we look back here that talking about you can see here that they have a strengthened balance sheet, raising $175 million proceeds from financing transactions. Words are hard today. And then decreasing first quarter operating loss. So always good to decrease a loss. They're at $32.52 million compared to the prior year period. Here's a little bit of their earnings summary that we have. So that generally accepted accounting principles EPS of minus 68 cents, missing by 63 cents. That's a pretty big miss that we have going on there. The revenue was also pretty cool growth-wise anyway, going up over 7,000% year over year. So that's something that we won't see continuing happening. So we wouldn't be able to play that out for the next year. That would be very unsustainable growth. So what we want to look for is the guidance that they give going into Q2 and for the rest of 2021. And so down here is more of that outlook that we have, and they talk about the revenue being expected to be between 12 and 15 million. Well, how does that compare to Q1's revenue? It's almost about 3 million. So that would mean that the revenue is expected to be about even by their low estimate, and then going up by about $1 million. So that would be right now about 3 million for revenue, so 4 million, 4 million, 4 million, or most likely it'll scale up from there. Would really have to go ahead and see more about what they have to say for that. So make sure that you have June 2nd through 5th marked on your calendar, because that could be a possible catalyst for their stock price when they report on their 180-day FSR sensor finding. So we want to find out about that and check out. That could tell us a little bit more about whether or not they anticipate to get approved by the FDA for that 180-day sensor. If we go to the one for ADA, this one, if you look at the virtual meeting dates, it's right down here, June 25th through the 29th. And I don't know, it'll likely be a lot of the same information. So the earlier date, the 2nd through the 5th for the ATTD, that would be the one that I think will be where the catalyst happens. And maybe it's a buy the rumor, sell the news case that we could see a run up in that price. Really, I think with the current market conditions, it's going to hold steady for us up until that point, because I think that we'll be there. And also, that those macroeconomics can be enough to put enough downward pressure on that we see a very muted effect even from good news on a stock like this. All right, looking at the daily chart for Sensionics, the nice thing to see here, even though it did sell off from about $5.56 all the way down to this bottom, is that even in the most recent round of sell-offs, it's still holding right around that $1.65 base. So even with the huge downward pressure that we've had recently, we're still not really breaking this previous bottom that we had here. So really that $1.45 to $1.65, we might see rather strong support going on there. So let's toss up the 200 EMA. There you go. Here's the 200 period EMA, in this case the 200 day, since it's the daily chart, and you can see we come down, we tagged it, and you can see that we broke past it just a little bit on this day, but then ended up closing up from there and still kind of floating somewhat around it. So we'll have to see what the rest of the days bring, but it's nice to see this acting as support for us as we go forward with Sensionics. And hopefully as we near that June 2nd through the 5th date, or even somewhere when they do their presentations during that time at the ATTD conference, that we see really good news come out of there, and that we see that as a catalyst for the stock price. Again, that's June 2nd through the 5th, and then the ADA one is closer to the end of June. All right, finally, the last company that I have for you is Fisker, and Fisker isn't one that I'm well read on. It is an EV developer, and I believe that they're out of Norway, and you can see that it rose 20% in the after hours after an agreement to work with Foxconn. And the part that I thought was really cool was about their project pair. So this is either personal or private electric automotive revolution. So trying to really take advantage of that lower entry price for EVs and also bring it to, look at these markets, North America, Europe, China, India. So they're really trying to get a place for themselves, and they're really trying to lock in a good supply chain for themselves. So they're really working on that. But here's the coolest part, is that they say starting price of less than $30,000. And this is really important because this starts to make the cars more accessible. These cars, it says Q4 2023 is when they hope to start that new production and really getting those supply chains locked down, especially with that deal with Foxconn. This could be something that really does do nice work for Fisker and could really help progress the EV movement that we have here in the United States and broader markets across the globe, like we have here with Europe and China and India. All right, and then just scrolling down, here's a really cool detail. Morgan Stanley named Fisker its favorite electric vehicle startup, so we'll see what they have to say about it. I plan on reading up more about Fisker in the days ahead, and I think with the market conditions like they are, I think I'm going to have plenty of opportunities for low buying points, even off the spike that we had in their charts. Let me share that with you. All right, so here's the daily chart for Fisker, and you can see the 200 period exponential moving average did not serve as too good a support. It did back here. It held for a little bit, and then during that last sell-off, this is when a lot of the EVs were selling off. It just crashed right through it and just kept on going right after there. However, in today's aftermarket, with the news about the deal with Foxconn and bringing a $30,000, under $30,000 electric vehicle with that partnership announced, you can see the after hours. And we have even a nice little volume spike that went right along with it. Popped up to $12.12 and then settled right back down. It looks like at $11.20 by the time the 8 o'clock Eastern time, 2000 hours military time, by the time that the after hours closed. So we'll see what this opens tomorrow. I think some of that excitement will die off in the short term. However, it might be something that, I mean, honestly, that $30,000 vehicle thing, it really has me intrigued, especially as they develop and seeing that they can really deliver on it in a timely manner and also make good on their promises to have that vehicle for that price, especially if we see a quality product come along with it. All right, and finally, the analyst estimates that we have for Fisker. You can see right now it's, well, at least as of today's close, not including the after hours, we were sitting just right around the low 12-month analyst estimate of $10, and we had 9 different analysts covering this one, 26 as the average and $40 as the high. As the market recovers, as the sell-off ends, we could see some of the strength come back to this. Really, the Biden infrastructure plan, if they stand to gain from that at all, it could just move up with EVs in general as we see more money being put towards chargers and more credits coming out for people buying electric vehicles. Those could all be good things that would really help encourage seeing this price target come back up. And like I said, I'm not well read on Fisker yet, but it's one that I plan on reading more about. So let me summarize. Palantir, I think Palantir has a very bright future, and I think these sell-offs is a huge de-risking for us for taking new positions or dollar cost averaging, coming down off of those high multiples for people who joined the stock market somewhere around December, January, February, and bought in at those high multiples. By being able to take time, pace yourselves, and buy small portions, little bits at a time as the days, weeks, or months go by. Those would be all ways to take advantage of it. Palantir, I think under $20, we're starting to get into really excellent price territory. BNGO is under $5 right now, and it's well below the analyst estimates that we have. I think 12 was the low analyst estimate on that one, and even if we only got 2/3 of the way there, even if we hit the $8 mark from where it's at now, we'd still be getting a heck of a deal over those next 12 months. Sensionics, watch for that FDA approval for the 180-day Eversense implantable. That'll be huge. June 2nd through the 5th is when we should hear more about their presentation coming out of the ATTD conference. So that could be a possible catalyst for that one. And then finally, Fisker, watching for buying opportunities for that one, learning more about the company, seeing if it's one that you are willing to pay for that company. You know, is it one that you believe in for any of these companies? That would be what you would want to do. What's the valuation? What multiple is it trading at? Are you getting a good deal on it? I think that there's a lot of good deals coming up in the future. It's a matter of figuring out which is the baby, which is the bathwater, and making sure not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So getting back to those high conviction plays that we have. So that's all I have for you. If you want to check out my Patreon, that link's down in the description. Also down in the description is that link for WEBULL. So if you want to sign up, deposit your $100 and get you 2 free stocks, that link is there for you. Thank you guys so much for any support that you have to show. I really appreciate everything that you do for this channel. Hit me up in those comments, especially if you happen to know a lot more about T1D, about type 1 diabetes, or even type 2, if you use a CGM or something like that, or have intimate knowledge of the CGM, where you would be able to educate and inform me and whatever other community members would read those comments, I would really greatly appreciate it. Finally, Fisker. I think that Fisker could have a really excellent future. If they can really deliver an EV by 2023 for under $30,000, I think, especially if a really quality one at that, and one that they can really sell the brand to the people of North America and Europe and China and India, I think that they could be sitting very pretty from their partnership and also from being able to deliver on their promises. So that's what I got. I hope that you like what I had to say. I got a cat here sleeping by my side. He loves to sit on comfy surfaces. So I better put him to bed. I got to get this video edited and up to YouTube so I can get myself to bed. You know, tomorrow's a new day in the market, so I got to get my beauty rest so that I'm ready for that one. If you haven't already subscribed and you'd like to, please do so. Hit the notification bell so you can see anytime that I put videos up on YouTube. If you can hit the like button to help out the algorithm and to help get these videos ranked so that more people can watch so I can spend more time doing this, I would also greatly appreciate that. Finally, remember these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research and due diligence. Contact a financial advisor before making any financial decisions. I'm Dr. Stock. Thanks for rocking with me. Now go get that money.